Hey, good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Telling It Like It Is. My name is Jade Alberts, the founder of Peer Guidance. I'm back in my home office after doing it live at the Alberta Technology Symposium. What a great event we had last week. 360 of our best friends, great tech leaders. Thank you, Minister Schweitzer and Minister Gulbrish, for coming out and sharing your knowledge and your outlook for how the government is going to be helping us moving forward. The videos, panel discussions, fireside chats, those will all be up hopefully by the end of the week. You can check them out at the Canadian Blockchain YouTube channel. I'll post that up in a little bit. But I'd also like to thank Startup TNT for sponsoring this. Our next summit is starting in a couple weeks. Applications end today. Of course, we're all heading to Unite the Prairies in Saskatoon next week. But before then, we are going to talk ZS2 with Scott Jenkins. Scott, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic, Jade. Looking forward to our chat this morning.
Oh, I'm always looking forward to our chats. I'm always inspired after our chats, especially since you won the clean tech about, I guess it's about almost a year and 3 months ago, around that time frame.
It's crazy. Like you just mentioned, Startup TNT and some of the information from, you attending the Alberta Tech Symposium last week. I saw it's not just the two ministers you mentioned. There's a lot of government officials that were sending out shout outs to you guys. But we're a graduate of the Startup TNT program. And we were the successful winner just over a year ago. That's right.
Yeah, and that's and you crushed it.
Well, you know what? It's interesting about Startup TNT, and obviously, we can chat a little bit about today and for all the new cohort of companies that are going to be competing for the process. The whole process just opened so many doors for us. And it's really, I know we're going to talk a little bit about today, but Dr. Doug Brown, my co-founder, along with Kristen Davis, the three of us, we think back, it got really going, the acceleration in ZS2 because of Startup TNT.
And it's so good. I mean, we can talk about that now because I see it all the time. I hear this all the time. And right now, I mean, we had almost 40 companies apply in the Calgary area alone. And I believe we're up to almost 30 in Edmonton, and we're at 27 in Saskatchewan. And because it does, people are knowing what it does to kick off. Even if you don't get an investment, it starts the kickoff of your fundraiser.
Yeah. Well, like one thing, and for those folks listening today, if there's any of the companies that are joining the program and the competition, obviously as an alumnus, we'd be more than happy to share our experience, which has been amazing. But I was thinking about it, and the Startup TNT, because it brings so many folks from Alberta, Saskatchewan, even British Columbia together to meet some of these companies they may not have heard of. There's so many light bulbs go on. So after our first pitch and intro session with Startup TNT, we got a whole bunch of folks reach out to us, and that led for us to being invited to be part of Foresight, the Clean Tech Accelerator, which is doing, by the way, Jeanette Jackson, CEO of Foresight, doing an amazing job in Western Canada and Canada-wide for aspiring technology companies and helping them grow. And then some of the investors, when we won the Startup TNT conversation, most importantly to me, building a business, they've become our clients. It's turned into actual revenue, top line revenue, and projects for us. We're a technology company. We're developing new technology, and I know we'll talk a little bit about that today. Yeah. But at the same time, we're growing rapidly the top line. Like, we're a real business generating cash flow. So Startup TNT was really helpful there as well.
No, and I love hearing that, right? And I see it, and obviously, thank you for the kind words. And obviously, I mean, you saw the benefit in it. We know this happens, and it's priceless. And well, then let's talk about that goes right into our next question, or our first question of, when you came in, you didn't. No one knew what ZS2 was. We had a meeting a little bit with you and Scott and Dr. Brown. Explained to me what it was, and then you just kept rising and rising and rising up the TNT. So why don't you share how you came out of your career in harnessing science and technology to build a better world and come up with the ZS2 idea?
So I'll try not to make this too long-winded. So my background, has always been with technology companies in infrastructure, construction, manufacturing. So trying to find innovative ways. So started my career after university. I started actually at KPMG, so good finance background, and then was involved with Pure Technologies early on, worldwide leader in infrastructure monitoring, large pipelines, concrete pipelines, cement pipelines. You'll see kind of the synergies here as I start talking about Pure. Post-tension buildings, cable-stayed bridges, and Pure, amazing company. And I had some amazing mentors there, Jamie Paulson, Peter Paulson, just an amazing cohort of colleagues. And I was a young guy and learned a lot from them as I grew and became an executive of that company. And I left Pure learning a lot and joined a small Calgary startup at the time run by a gentleman by the name of Mogan Smed called Dirt Environmental Solutions in 2006. And it was chaos, and we were raising money a bit, and Mogan's had done it before. And it was all about prefab manufacturing for interior construction. So saving materials, labor, giving our clients cost certainty, and building them a beautiful product. But what I learned a lot at Dirt was all about sales and distribution and North American distribution channels, and how you can really turbocharge the top line of your business and growth by having strategic partners, especially in construction, that are local. And so I departed Dirt in the end of 2017 after leading the successful IPO on the TSX. Great team of folks, and I'll give a shout out to many of our ZS2 team members who also have Dirt in their past pedigree. And I met a gentleman by the name of Dr. Doug Brown. And Doug's background is carbon engineering and direct air capture of CO2. He had done his PhD on solar panel technologies. He's always had a passion for sustainable energy creation, but also reducing greenhouse gases and finding commercial products or processes that could do that. And it was at Dirt that I had learned about magnesium oxide tiles, floor tiles for a raised floor system. And so Doug and I put our heads together, and really it was Kristen who kind of then smacked those two heads together as fast as she could. And she's freakishly strong. So you can imagine there was actually some tears, mostly for me. Doug's much tougher than I am. And said, look, guys, like, we're in the middle of a pandemic, or we're starting in a pandemic. We don't know what the world's going to look like. We should start our own company and focus on delivering sustainable, resilient, environmentally friendly, but prefab products for the construction industry that are safer. So we like to say safer, healthier, and more efficient for people and the planet. And that's really what's led us to build ZS2 to deliver building envelope. So we're like prefab solutions for the exterior of a building, but they provide higher fire resilience, resilience against mold, hurricanes, higher strength, but also similar, borrowing on the Dirt DNA a little bit, that it's cost certainty, speed, reduce labor, give people an economic benefit to the project as well. So sorry, that was very long-winded, but that's sort of how we're a COVID baby. ZS2 was created, as the pandemic was raging, and helped us keep SG&A costs down. We didn't need an office for a year.
Yeah, no doubt. Especially when you're raising, that always helps.
Yeah.
Well, I think the timing was right. I mean, you look at what's going on in the world, the fires, the fire in Fort McMurray, the fires in California, the hurricanes, all the things that come on. I mean, I think it's just a perfect time for a solution that looks after the world, but also protects the people that are supposed to look after the world.
You mentioned really quick there, and all of that. And actually, I'm saving some news to share with you, Jade, as the first, and your listeners, which I'll get to in a second as well, when talking about wildfires. So obviously in the United States and Canada, this is an issue, and it's probably going to grow in prominence. It's unfortunate. Climate change is real. We have to address it in a meaningful way. I was in Northern California about 4 weeks ago with one of our newest tech partners, our distribution partners, DH Construction. So I want to give them a shout out. Amazing construction company who is really shifting their entire business. They've been in construction for 30 years, have an experienced team, and they're shifting towards more resilient, fire resilient housing options in Northern California and around the Bay Area, largely around what's called WUI certification. Wildland urban interface, and the requirements of the insurance companies that if you're building homes in these areas prone to wildfires, you have to demonstrate higher fire resiliency. But the other thing that our clients, and I met with fire marshals, I met with city inspectors, the excitement level for our type of product, they want to just help us, demonstrate the product. We're working on a large subdivision project down there now, is also about energy efficiency with insulated panels, so our tech panels, because their heating and cooling costs, mostly cooling, air conditioning, their energy costs, electricity costs are through the roof. So we can provide our clients with, significant savings there. So the second thing is the big announcement as of Friday. We have been selected to be part of the Kanakabar First Nation Resiliency Challenge Consortium to help Kanakabar rebuild the residences that burned to the ground during the tragic fires in Lytton, BC last summer in British Columbia. So we have some upcoming calls. I was having a chat with the Melanie Ross, huge supporter of ZS2, at SATE yesterday. So there'll be some exciting announcements with that. I think there'll be ceremonial groundbreaking here in late May. But so you're the first to know, Jade, and anybody else who's listening. So, thanks, Mom. Thanks to my cousin, the two listeners on my side.
Oh, that's so funny. I mean, I never know how many people are listening until later. That's one thing that sucked about COVID. I thought my numbers would go up. They did go up in general, but what they do now is they don't watch it live. They just, I can watch everything later on a webinar type thing.
It's all recorded. That's right.
I mean, and that's great news. And thank you for sharing that here first. And obviously you had some more great news in the last week. Obviously with the Musk Foundation. Why don't you explain that? Because you'll do a much better job than I will.
So this really credit to Dr. Doug, as we call him around here, to Doug and his R&D team, which is growing. We're fortunate. We've got 3 PhD chemists that work with ZS2, an amazing team. So this is really revolving around taking direct air capture, CO2, greenhouse gases, could be other gases, and using the technology that we've developed into a commercialized product, which we've developed. So this is the largest X-Prize in history. It's for $100 million US, being funded by Elon Musk and the Musk Foundation. The X-Prize Carbon Removal Challenge. It was announced on Earth Day last year, so 2021. It's a 4-year competition. So they accepted 1,133 companies worldwide to be part of the program. So they vetted, I don't know how many companies applied or student-led groups, thousands maybe, but 1,133 were accepted into the program. We have moved through the program. They've vetted our science, our technology. We had to have third-party validation from a scientist that they nominated. That was done a couple months ago with flying success. And so last week, we were announced as a top 60 milestone finalist in the X-Prize, one of only 7 Canadian companies to receive this distinction. And so then on Earth Day, they announced 15 companies to get an initial $15 million seed amount, $1 million each. We weren't one of the 15 at this stage, but we are top 60. We're part of the X-Prize. The competition runs till Earth Day 2025. So we're in the running, developing our technology, and we have to demonstrate the ability to capture 3,000 tons of CO2. Sorry, I'm getting that wrong. Over 1,000 tons, a smaller amount of CO2 direct air capture in a commercialized product. Our phase 1 commercial plant expansion, which we're launching next month, will collect 3,000 tons. So 3 times was required to demonstrate the X-Prize in 3 years, and we hope to have that operational in the next year. So obviously our phones were ringing off the hook. We're still getting a lot of great PR and press from it. Some of the companies that are part of the X-Prize, it is amazing what some of these companies are doing. We looked at some very different than us, different industries, different. It's really cool to see what's being done around the world right now.
And kudos to you. And I mean, that's so impressive. And even to be, I look at it as thinking 7 in the top 60 in Canada is astronomical number like that, considering it's around the world, right?
Around the world. And, if anybody's interested at all, just, go to the X-Prize website, Carbon Removal Challenge. And they've got a map. They've got you can search on ZS2. We're listed there as a milestone finalist. There's a little blurb on us on the X-Prize Musk Foundation website. But it's really neat to look at some of the other companies and just stuff that you'd never even think about. and how far along they've progressed. So it gives me a lot of hope, actually, in terms of, solving climate change. Because, here at ZS2, and really, actually, I'll kind of shout out another, like the Solar Impulse Foundation out of Europe. We received their distinction in October of 2020, so early on, just as we were getting going. They had third-party validators in Europe look at our technology and what we were doing, just developing. But the key that for them was you have to have the capability to commercialize it in a usable product that the world needs. So it's solving climate change, but also with something that makes economic sense. And I think that's really where we're in that sweet spot. Like, we have an excellent, I'm very proud of the business model we have. And I do think, a lot of our clients, we just finished our first projects in New Mexico, Utah, secured the project in Northern California. We have a project going on in San Diego, California right now. So I think a lot of our clients, like these are also products, materials, technologies clients want.
Yeah. And I think that's a key, right? Again, I'm talking with Scott Jenkins, the CEO of ZS2 Technologies.com. I posted up the Elon Mush X-PRIZE website there. You can click on it in the comment section. Click on ZS2 Technologies.com in the comment section, take you directly there. I also think that's what you just said is something extremely important. You mentioned that you're kind of a COVID baby. You started in COVID, but a lot of companies have a hard time growing, COVID or no COVID. But you've been able to kind of get that hockey stick, and I don't want to say it straight up, but you've been able to do that, and that's what impresses me the most about you, your team, everybody at ZS2 Technologies. So how have you been able to do that in such a short period of time?
Well, one, it's mostly the team, right? In addition to obviously Kristen, who's our director of strategic accounts, co-founder, Leanna Gilmore, who was a critical member of the team at DIRT, joined us as our director of channel partners, and she's really been building out that distribution arm for us. I think for us, we're about to launch a major marketing initiative for new tech partners in Eastern US. I think for us, it's existing relationships, but then really, Matt Stewart, our director of marketing communications, our digital marketing campaigns, and just being very sophisticated in using data and making sure that our message, let me summarize, making sure our message is being targeted to high value potential partners. So that's created a lot of, inbound requests for information projects. We just actually secured our first project in Colorado, not through direct sales, not through a tech partner. It was literally through our website, but it was targeted digital marketing campaigns to sustainability focused architects, engineers, environmentally focused construction companies. This is a big push, like the building code for energy efficiency here in Canada. We have, the province of British Columbia probably leading the way with the STEP code, it's called. Most jurisdictions in BC now at step 3. So to get your building permit for new builds, you have to do an energy efficiency analysis. Even more so, the state of California, it's called Title 24. So it's law that you have to have a building efficiency analysis to get your building permit. However, if you build with insulated panels, that requirement is waived because they know they're so much more efficient. You mentioned wildfires. We've got to look for additional materials. And so if you bring this all together and kind of what's the DNA for ZS2 and why we're so passionate about what we're doing is we know that the construction industry, the world's largest industry, like this is the world's biggest industry, construction, has not really been open to a lot of technology change. We saw that with DIRT, and yet we grew that business rapidly. But I believe the combination of prefab manufacturing technologies in combination with true material science, true chemistry, really probably represents one of the greatest opportunities to disrupt the world's largest industry. I know that's a bold statement, what I just said, but we're seeing it. So we're seeing it, and it's a tidal wave is just starting to hit us.
I think you are right. And as you said, you've taken something that I also just wanted to ask a quick question that I got on LinkedIn here from Marty. He wanted clarification. Do you mean 3,000 carbon is actually being removed or prevented from going into the atmosphere?
So for actually, it's a good point. So as part of X-Prize, so this is what's kind of really amazing about our team, and great question. So our initial business plan when we started ZS2 was to work with our strategic partner, Baymag, Canada's only producer of high quality magnesium oxide, and actually one of the world's highest quality mines, period, and use their off-spec mine production, perfect for us. And then magnesium oxide takes in CO2 as it cures, and we can actually bring in CO2. So our plan was to take CO2 off of their heat stack. But to be part of X-Prize, you actually have to use direct air capture. So in partnership with our other strategic partners, Occam's Technologies, Progressive Planet, but this is proprietary technology to us that we've designed, we can do both.
Oh,
direct air capture. So what I've learned in the last month is our direct air capture technology, and then take that CO2, it forms a strategic building block of our tech board, our tech sheathing, tech siding, tech floor products. Works actually better at colder temperatures. So it's great for a Canadian-made solution, a made-in-Canada solution. But we also, on the 3,000 tons, we also have units that deployed at scale, so we just have to scale them, would work for removing the CO2 from flue gas. So to be determined, might be both.
Well, that's a good thing.
Yeah, good thing.
Right? Yeah. I like that. I hope that.
JG, you got it. Like whichever way route we go, or it's combination, both are a good things, because we would either be taking CO2 from existing emitters, so from companies that have been around a long time, or direct air capture.
No, absolutely. And I hope that answers your question, Marty. I'm sure it does. It was a very good question. Thank you. And that kind of leads into now that you're going through another raise, and you're going to be expanding, you're going to be building a plant. Let's talk about where you're going to be building that plant. Where are you going to be expanding your team, and why you're picking the areas that you may pick?
Sure. So so we were chatting a little bit before on air. So we're going to be announcing likely next week that we're partnering with Fort Capital and Blue Deer Capital out of Toronto, Fort Capital here in Calgary and Vancouver, on our next expansion financing. The plans are in place. We've sketched out. We've been talking with our partners, Baymag, Progressive Planet Solutions. Huge shout out to Progressive Planet and what they're doing with absorbent products in terms of sustainable cement solutions. So you can see how this all links together. And it looks like we've not set in stone, but it looks like for the phase 1 commercial plant of the Made in Canada solutions, which will feed then our tech panel plant here in Calgary, Alberta, will likely be in Kamloops, British Columbia. So there's 2 phases of our expansion. We desperately need to expand our manufacturing here in Calgary. Our manufacturing team, amazing. But I think they're getting sick of working weekends to keep up with the demand. And we've had a lot of new hires. By the way, a bit of a shout out to anybody who's listening or may watch this. We are hiring in multiple positions right now. We're a little short staffed. But then Kamloops for the phase 1 commercial plant, access to water, hydroelectric power, close proximity to one of our strategic partners. Baymag's magnesium oxide mine is in British Columbia. So that may work best for us. So that's where we're thinking right now.
And what are some of the reasons for being in the Kamloops area? What's a benefit of being there rather than in Calgary or Edmonton or Saskatoon?
Right. So 2 things for us. So Calgary is home, our tech center, R&D, manufacturing of the panels, excellent logistics here in Calgary. Obviously, it's home base, a lot of our investors. And then Kamloops to Calgary, very easy transportation wise. Obviously, the British Columbia government is twinning the Trans-Canada Highway, inexpensive flight if we have to go in. But for trucking, CP Rail mainline. So Baymag's main facility, and by the way, they're celebrating their 40th anniversary here in Alberta and in British Columbia later this summer. And they just finished off a $50 million expansion to their plant. But Baymag is in Exshaw or Canmore, Alberta, on the main rail line. So it's really about logistics. We think Kamloops is an excellent place for cost of living, but also access to Progressive Planet and their team. So they've got a team of millwrights. It's where the zeolite, so it's strategic. So We think co-locating with them, there's some land there that's existing, an existing building. So I'm a big believer in not building new buildings, using a brownfield site. So we're not causing any more unnecessary construction waste ourselves. So we think really for us, it's Calgary's home base with the secondary base in Kamloops makes the most sense. We've had some preliminary discussions with some potential sites around Calgary that also might be good fits. But right now it looks like Kamloops.
Yeah, and I mean, we're all going to unite the prairies, and we're all in this together, right? And I love that statement that you just made. We don't need to build more buildings, especially if you're able to collaborate with partners that you're going to be with and working with for that have been in business for 40, 50 years, and you plan on being there for that long too. So why not?
Yeah, no, you nailed it. And and then as we grow, and Doug's got some big plans, working with again our partners at Bay Mag, and then their parent company Refra Technique, worldwide involved in magnesium and various industrial processes. We're really a new market for them potentially. Is how we could then take the blueprint we're developing here in Western Canada and then deploy that elsewhere in the world to bring a much lower carbon, higher performing cement products to the markets that are obviously there's still a lot of construction. One thing, just a little factoid, next to water, by far the most consumed thing by humans on the planet is cement.
It kind of makes sense.
Right? Yeah.
What do we drive on, right?
12% of CO2 emissions a year.
Yeah.
To the planet. Like this is something that needs to be addressed.
No, absolutely. I agree. I mean, I just love hearing great success stories that are coming out of Alberta, collaborating with people all around Western Canada and the world for that matter. And what you guys have created is fantastic. Again, I'm talking to Scott Jenkins, the CEO of ZS2 Technologies. Click on their website in the comments section. They've got some great things going on. They are hiring. I put that in there as well. So if you're looking for a new gig to join an emerging company, definitely check out their website. So with all these great things going on and raising and expanding and growing and selling, what's next?
Oh man, that's a good question. Okay, sure. We really are excited about taking the technologies, taking the blueprint we're developing in terms of the R&D, material science, and maybe now working with some other fantastic material science companies out there that maybe I also believe for ZS2, maybe we could help these type of companies if they become part of the ZS2 umbrella. I'm actually touring a company this afternoon that's had the same ideas, because for them, access to capital and distribution throughout the United States and Canada may not be an option for them. This is obviously something that we have tremendous experience with. So it's not just me, it's my entire team, right? We've done this before. So I think ZS2, if I really want to talk, like where are we 5 years from now? There's probably some other innovative complementary technologies that are part of the ZS2 story.
Nice. I love it. And I can't wait to see what those technologies are, right? That way, I mean, I won't ask Dr. Brown to come play baseball for our team then, because he's going to be way too busy.
Exactly. We need him. And Dr. Brown, we always give him a hard time because he was on the Canadian national baseball team back in the day. But no, we want him in the lab. We want him, he's got a big presentation coming up next week to our friends at the federal government regarding our recent win with Engine Advanced Manufacturing. So we received a significant grant from the federal government for our expansion. So that was great news for us. So that's where he's kind of focused right now.
Somebody asked if you're looking for programmers.
I would say not at this stage, but I do know another company, and maybe I'll give a shout out to our friends at Falkbuilt and Mogan Smed's company that are actually expanding. They just completed and congratulations to Mogan's and his team, completing a $35 million financing for their expansion plans. And Barry Loberg, former founder of Dirt, but founder of Falkbuilt, doing a great job with their Echo software and everything they're doing. Certainly of interest to us at ZS2. In terms of our collaboration with them.
No, absolutely. Thanks for that shout out. I'm always sad when my conversations come to an end because, I mean, obviously not only I'm an investor, I'm a big fan. I mean, I love the way you talk. It's the same way I do. We, team, us. That's just priceless, right? I mean, I just love that lingo that you use, because people are the heartbeat of a company, and that's what's gonna make you guys great, and already has made you great. So
I couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more on that. I'll leave it. One final comment. The team, like there's not a day I come into the tech center or now that we can travel a little bit more, and I'm talking to partners in the United States and in Canada. The quality of our team, their efforts, their belief, their passion for what we're doing. It's so easy for me to be passionate talking to you, Jade, because they fuel it. It's all them. It's not me. They're just, I'm so lucky. I have a dream job. I get to talk about it all day long.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And speaking of talking, and the last piece, I mean, you are the second, I guess, CEO that I've had on this show that has taken a company through an IPO. Hubert Lau from Trustbix, great man, love him. He was the other one, and now that you've done it, you've grown it, you've IPO'd it, you've come back to the roots of a startup again. You're going through that process. So you've done this twice, a few other times. So I think this advice is going to be interesting. I'm excited to hear it anyway. But if you had one piece of advice for a small business startup, what would that be, Scott?
Oh, probably I'd have a lot. But one thing. So in terms of raising money and doing that, here would be my advice to everybody. Focus on the business, focus on your growth, focus on why you're different, focus on why you're changing the world. Access to capital, whether you go public, you don't, that will come. I see so many people focused on either an exit or the money first. Even though I'm talking about it, and obviously I talk with investors, it's the secondary focus. The first focus is growing our revenue and building a profitable company with a purpose that's going to change the world. Everything else will follow. Build your business. Work on your business. That would be my advice.
And that's great advice. We talk about that with companies all the time about focusing on the business, and the money will come if you have a good business, good plan, good people. That will follow. Because I mean, especially here, people want to invest in businesses that are scaling. They don't want to give you money to build a business. They want you to give you money to scale a business, and that's something that it's different in other sectors and other industries, the valleys, Toronto, but here that's just the way the cookie crumbles.
That's right. Yeah. No, I think for a lot of investors who have supported us from the early days, and my last shout out for our conversation, to Dave Richardson. Dave, a prolific Canadian investor, the Richardson family, very well known throughout Canada. ZS2 doesn't exist without Dave, but he saw the vision, but he's really been there to help us scale it and get it to the next level. And so the rest of the investors, Startup TNT was their early days. These were the questions. How do you get to the next level? What could we do to help you to go faster? Because we're focused on the business.
Yeah. Absolutely. Again, it's always my pleasure. I got to interview Dr. Doug Brown there a few weeks ago at our finale of the Clean Tech, and we had a good little chat there, even though he was supposed to be live, and we did it virtual, and that's all right. It worked out good.
It's a transition from the pandemic lockdown to you mean we can actually meet in person now.
Exactly. So we have a good talk. We did the 5-minute Fridays. I mean, you're the shout outs and loves you give to Startup TNT. We really appreciate. Thank you for all the kind words, and we're on this journey with you, and we're excited to be on this journey with you. So keep on being awesome. And again, thank you for coming on and sharing your story today.
Oh, I can't say thank you enough to Startup TNT and Jade and you and your colleagues. It's been a wonderful journey so far, and we're only getting started.
Oh, I know that. That's what gets me excited. So again, enjoy the rest of your day, and we will chat soon. And I hope everyone